I'm so excited to start to talk to you about ketamine assisted psychotherapy. This is a new offering in my practice in Boulder, Colorado, and it's amazing. KAP, KAP, ketamine assisted psychotherapy is the acronym, so I'll probably use that term a lot. It's just easier to say. I'm going to do a series of videos talking about the medicine, the process, the sessions, my approach, my own personal experience, and just kind of give you more of a sense of what it's all about. I'm sure you're going to be hearing this pop up more and more and more with the reemergence of psychedelic assisted therapies that's happening in our society and in the mental health world. But I really want to bring you in specifically with how I'm using ketamine, how the approach is happening in my practice here. So you can get a sense of if it's something that you would be interested in trying with me. So for starters, let's just talk about the medicine itself. Ketamine, of course, has a mundane understanding, a street name, a club use that people kind of are aware of loosely. So it's sometimes hard to picture it as something that's a beautiful, sweet, healing medicine. But ketamine was actually, it has a 50-year history as a safe anesthetic. It's been used since the early 70s. For medical procedures, for anesthesia. So it's actually a dissociative medication. It takes you kind of up and out of your body. And the experience of it is that it then brings you more into your just consciousness without the body. So I'll get into that a little bit more too. Recently, the research and the experience with off-label use, as we call it, has been that we've seen ketamine have a great outcome. Really, it shows so much promise for working with everything from addiction to anxiety to PTSD, OCD, depression. Obviously, that's one of the biggest ones. It's just so exciting to see it used in so many different ways. And to also kind of explain that the dosage that's used for KAP sessions is much, much smaller, obviously, than what would be used as a full anesthetic for surgery. It's a fraction. It's about 10 to maybe up to 25% of what a dose would be for anesthesia. Typically, the doses for the sublingual, the orally ingested medicine, which is how I do it in my practice, that's going to be anywhere from 100 to 300 milligrams. So that gives you an idea. Of course, this means that I'm working with a medical prescriber. I have an amazing person that I work with. She does a psychiatric evaluation, a very comprehensive 75-minute intake. Once my patient, my client, and I have addressed all of the ways that we're going to have intention to work together and kind of explaining everything that KAP is in my practice, then you would see this medical prescriber in order to get medical clearance. You would get your own prescription from them that you then actually bring into the session. So I do not administer the medicine. I have nothing to do with it. Besides, your prescription is going to say that it's indicated for use under the supervision of a certified KAP therapist. So there's an agreement with your prescriber that you're going to be bringing the medicine to my office and doing it in our scheduled sessions. So I want to talk a little bit about the energetics and how, less so the medical side of it, because it's a synthetic compound. We have not yet discovered the molecule of ketamine in a naturally existing state in the body or anywhere in the natural world. I say yet because I don't know, I'm curious. I know there was some research that came out recently, or a finding that it was grown, ketamine was found in fungus, in mushrooms. It's kind of this new emerging thing. I don't know very much about it, but I'm really curious to see what else starts to come out as we get more interested in ketamine. I like to work with what I call the spirit of the molecule. That's on the energetic level. So I feel like my medical prescriber is working on the very tangible, physical, medical safety kind of level. And then I'm kind of bringing in the consciousness and the energy work that I do already as an energy psychotherapist and a spiritual healer. And so I'm kind of holding space for all of that to exist. And of course, the very most important thing in all of this, of course, the medicine's big, but it's really about you. It's about your inner healing wisdom, your innate intuitive sense of healing yourself forever, like literally since my first internship. Oh, this is going to be backwards. I've had this sign on in my office. You are your own healer. I've always believed that. I have always supported that in all the work that I do and all the modalities that I've used over time. And that's still absolutely the case. And that's one thing I love about working with psychedelic medicine, is that the medicine provides an experience, a chance for you to really find a pure, deep, true, present connection with your inner healing intelligence that's maybe hard to find when you have ego, mental programming, triggers, life, just stuff kind of in the way of being able to sense and feel that. So how it feels, how the medicine feels and how the setup works. I don't have my room set up for KAP sessions right now, but I have a really comfortable couch back here. And I actually set it up in a really super cozy, it's like a nest. It's like a very nurturing, I have this, a special pad that goes on top of the couch to make it even softer, blankets, pillows, you can bring things from home. So we set up a really nestly little snuggly spot for you. And you can bring in things like mementos, images, pictures, tokens, crystals, anything that you want to bring in as kind of objects to have in your space. I'm actually going to do a whole separate video about setting and support because it's that important. But what I'm talking about here is the setup, how we hold and create the container for the work, for the healing to happen. And like I said, I'll go into that more in depth, but part of it, I just want to kind of show you a little bit about how it would look, where it would be in my office. I'm sitting completely attuned and present, quiet, very close to you, like right next to you. Specifically, there will be no touch, there will be no hands-on anything in the sessions, other than we will work out together, possibly touching just your shoulder, one of my hands to your shoulder, in the case of just a sense of you needing reassurance, or a hand hold that would be initiated by you showing me your hand opening, which we'll talk about together, but just to give you an idea. The medicine generally takes about 2 hours from kind of when you first take it until you're sort of waking up and coming out of the journey. So my sessions are 3 hours to accommodate for that kind of setting up and setting the intentional space in the beginning, and then having time at the end to do some integration work in preparation for being able to build on the beautiful neuroplastic state that will come out of the experience of using the medicine, which I will also talk more about. So the session happens, it's scheduled for 3 hours. When you come in, you bring your own medicine bottle, you administer it to yourself. You will already have a prescription dosage that's been specified by your prescriber. You will actually check your own blood pressure, because that's kind of the one last thing that we have to check the day of, just to make sure that there's not anything going on with you medically that day. And if that is all set, then you take the medicine by putting a lozenge under your tongue and swishing it around in your mouth. So you actually have this process of swishing the medicine in your mouth without swallowing for 12 minutes. That is probably one of the worst parts about using ketamine for therapy. It tastes pretty disgusting. And that part's not fun, but it's not as bad as it sounds, especially once you've had your first KAP session and your first journey that likely has mystical, sweet, healing energies in it. It won't be such a big deal to have that taste in your mouth. And there are some things we can do to kind of help with that. So once you have swished the medicine around, and during that time, we already will have set up with each other how we're going to use that for intentional kind of holding the space for you to start to be with the medicine. And so there will be some music playing, there will be potentially some poetry or mantras or things that you may select for me to be reading and connecting with you on as you're swishing and not able to talk. There can be some art making involved. I bring in some of my art therapy practices into the KAP work as well. And then once you have swished the medicine, you have the choice of swallowing the medicine, or you can spit it into a cup. And we'll talk all about what the options are for that and why and what you might want to do. Usually pretty soon during that time or shortly thereafter of the swishing, you'll start to feel the medicine starting to kick in. It's a soft, slow start to a psychedelic journey. Oftentimes, I should say usually, but oftentimes I don't want to overpromise anything, 'cause anything's possible with the medicine. But you'll actually have eye shades and headphones, and the headphones will be playing the same music that I'm listening to in the space of my room. So we're kind of like sharing this consciousness of the music, but it really helps to get it directly to your ears with the headphones. The eye shade really helps you be able to just go within and just kind of be present there as the journey picks up. It might sound weird before you've ever done it, but it just really is helpful. And I think after your first session, you'll see why, and we'll appreciate that component of it. So during the session, you'll just be laying down. Like when I've seen people in KAP sessions, it's almost always just lying mostly still, maybe like a little bit of a calm or even like a happy expression on the face, just very gentle, very calm experience. And your inner healing intelligence, your consciousness will take you on whatever journey is connected to your healing intention for the session. If you do say anything or make motions or anything like that, I usually take notes just so that I can kind of track things that maybe you want to connect the dots on later. That also just kind of helps me stay really present with your experience. I'm in a kind of constant state of meditation, self-regulation, really checking in with holding the intention and the space of what we've talked about the session being about. So that's a really strong and huge part of the ketamine work is the consciousness that's in the room also becomes connected to the conscious journey that you're on in your psychedelic journey, which I'll talk much more in the setting and support video, but it's just very different experiences can happen based on how you're using the medicine, who you're using the medicine with, what the setting is. It's a really big deal. So it's kind of a peak in the process of the psychedelic journey, and then you kind of start to slow down and start to come back slowly into the room. As you do that, it's a very gentle re-entry, and I will support you in a very nurturing way around kind of softly and gently coming back into being in your kind of awake and conscious self that's not in the medicine anymore. We'll have sort of a coming back into the body kind of experience because you start to feel the warmth of yourself and the aliveness of your whole body. We don't move right away. There can be some nausea or motion sickness, which the prescriber, the medical provider will talk to you about. There is the option to have a prescription for anti-nausea medication, which can really help with that if you're someone who gets car sick or something like that. And then there's an offering of some ginger to just help with anything that might be coming up in that nausea kind of spectrum. But usually it feels really warm and nice to have ginger tea or ginger snack after the session. And then we'll just sort of connect, have a chance to sort of process anything, ask any questions. You'll still probably feel a little slow and kind of just coming back into yourself. So we don't go super into analysis or highly verbal exchange, but enough of a connection that we can kind of bring in what the integration pieces might be for you, what came through from that session. But the real magic happens as you are in this neuroplastic state where your brain, you've been out of your default mode network, out of your regular everyday ego thinking self. And now you get this space of really up to 5 days where you just have this like neuroplastic, spacious consciousness that you can work with to really repattern yourself, to really make shifts in your habits, shifts in your way of thinking and being, which we will have already worked on intentions for what we would hope that will be, but the journey itself will give you more information and more guidance as well. I have an online library. You'll get a personal online library when you do KAP work with me. And this includes all kinds of guided meditations for additional healing. It includes some worksheets things you can kind of integrate into your journaling, into your self-reflection and self-awareness work as you kind of move between sessions. As far as the KAP, the sort of gold standard of the protocol is to actually do 6 KAP sessions fairly close together, ideally about a week apart. I like to at least start the first 2 in a week apart pattern, ideally the first 3, and then if we have to kind of space out the next 3 after that by a little while, that could be workable. It's something we can talk about. But this is what's amazing about KAP therapy, is that you're just getting these like 6 intense healing sessions, a sort of like package of time. It's kind of a 8 to 12 week period in your life where you get to do a real deep dive on some real actual shifts in your default mode network, in your brain, in the trauma that's been held in your body, in the way that you've been living your life. You get to really shift and transform that using the KAP work. So that's what's so beautiful and exciting about doing this work. Of course, there are, I don't want to sugarcoat this, there are side effects, there are things that can happen. You can have a journey that doesn't give you much healing, or, these things can happen. So while I have seen pretty much really beautiful, mystical, amazing healing journeys, I just do want to point out, like, there are problems too, and these are things that the medical provider will discuss with you. Ketamine is not an addictive chemical, but the idea of how it feels and sort of chasing that high or chasing that trip is something that you'll want to talk to the medical provider about if you have a history of addiction. What else do I want to say about that? You can get a little bit headachy afterwards. So some people bring ibuprofen or something to take just to kind of ease any of those side effects. You will not be able to drive. The day that you have your KAP session, you will not be able to drive. So you'll need to have somebody pick you up from the session. Hopefully somebody caring and loving and nurturing who understands that you've just been through a healing experience and can hold that for you on the drive home. You'll really want to have some space for yourself that evening and the next day where you can be just really kind of quiet and slow and self-reflective. The less scheduled you can be, the better. I'm trying to think of what else. There are preparation sessions that we do without the medicine ahead of time. That's part of the protocol, and that's in the paperwork. The packet that I give you when we discuss KAP sessions and how that's all going to work. I think I'm going to end this video here and get into some deeper dives on specifics in the next couple videos. But I'm really excited to be bringing KAP therapy here to North Boulder in my healing studio. And I look forward to working with everyone who's called to do this work and where it's a good fit for us. And I hope that I can help you along your healing journey.